Okay, doing my first YouTube assignment. So we're talking about these myths in psychology that people believe, and the one that I'm kind of gravitating towards, the one that really catches my attention, that I really like, is in order for students to be successful, they need to develop a specific learning style. And for a long time, I was one of those people that were like, yeah, absolutely, that's absolutely a thing. And I thought to myself, I'm a really hands-on learner. I have to do it and practice and do it and practice and do it and practice in order to succeed and understand a topic. Um, and I talked to a lot of people when I was on this, and I was like, this is a thing. Like, I have to use my learning style or it doesn't work. So all throughout like junior high, this was when this was, I would have these problems because I blamed it because like, oh, this teacher doesn't work to my learning style. And I talked to a lot of people, um, and I hear a lot of people like in my math classes specifically that are like, yes, the reason I don't do super well there is because it's not my learning style. And then I'm kind of realizing as I hear that, it's kind of a cop out. It's kind of like it's saying I don't get this and it's not my fault. It's the teacher's fault that I don't get it because they're not catering to me specifically. And obviously that just creates problems because you can't divide classes into this is the class for the audible learners, this is the class for the visual learners, and this is the class for the hands-on learners. It just doesn't work like that, obviously, because the best method and the best learning style, in my opinion, is a compilation of all three. So my experiment that I would devise to kind of debunk this and or prove it, I don't know, we'll see, is we'll have 100 students, right? We'll start with 100 students and we'll divide them into four groups. The first group will be our control group, and the control group's basic function is to go to school like every other student that goes to a public school. So they'll get a mix of all of the different kinds of learning styles that exist. Primarily the three that we're going to be talking about, which is audible, visual, and hands-on. And this will be in a math situation. So we'll only be doing this test for math, and then as we conclude the math test, we'll move on to stage two, which will be English, and then stage three, which would be your um, social studies and stuff like that. I'm leaving out science because science is math. Okay, so the second group of 25 students will be the audible learners. So what we'll do for them is they will just hear about the content. Um, they won't get to see anything, they won't get to like do anything, and they will be the students that identify themselves as audible learners. And so they only get to hear their lessons, they only get to hear lectures, and then they go do work. They go do the assignments, and they have to learn only using that method. The second will be the visual learners, same thing. They will only see what the instructor has to say, so the instructor will write out all of the stuff and the students will be able to see what he's saying, but they can't use it. And so they can use maps, they can use whatever they want, they can use pictures of equations and stuff, but they can't hear it or practice it. They can only look at it to try to learn it. And our third group will be our hands-on learners, and basically they will just practice. They won't be given a ton of instruction, but it'll be like a trial by fire thing. They'll come in, they'll be like the instructor will be like, "Okay, we're gonna do this problem. We're gonna work it out step by step, but we're just gonna practice it until you guys get it right." And we'll do that for a period of 1 month, and at the on the first day of the month, the students will take a baseline test to see what they know. And at the end of the month, the students will take a final test, and that will determine what they have learned and whether or not their unique learning style is actually as effective as they claim it to be. Um, and the way we will analyze that is we will look at the test scores and we will see by what percentage the students increased or decreased. And my expectation is to see that the 25 students in the control group are actually the ones that are going to benefit the most, meaning that learning through one specific learning style is bananas ridiculous because you need a combination of all three. And I'm going to use math for an example to explain my reasoning a little bit. When you're doing math, you need to see something be done, hear about how it was done, and then practice it. There's no way that you can get better at anything unless all three of those things happen together. So saying one learning style wouldn't work. And hopefully this experiment and this test that I'm proposing would work. And, obviously I don't have the resources to do this, but it's been really weird and interesting to think about. So yeah, my hypothesis would be that the students in the control group would see the most growth because they have the best learning style, which is just really a compilation of all three and not one specifically.